The Dillner brothers were scheduled to be in the booth at Bowman Gray Stadium for Flow Racing and did a lot of homework. In fact, MD here came up with a bunch of stats, and you're going to give us one of those stats right now, aren't you?
It's the most unfortunate stat of the night. This is the 205th ever rainout in the history, the 75-year history of Bowman Gray Stadium.
And you know, we talk so much about modifieds, okay? And by the way, I have to say that Lee Jeffries and I, we were realists, okay? Tim Brown, Burt Myers, Randy Butner, we're all like, it's not going to get in. And this guy continually throughout the entire thing thought we were going to get the rain
Sunshine.
in. Despite the big, not green, big yellow and orange blob that was coming
I thought the green stuff was grass, but anyway, you got to be optimistic at racetracks, because the only four-letter word, as I like to say, that stops the race is the RAIN word. But, you know, nobody's going to watch this video for just talking about rain, right?
So it's raining at Bowman Gray Stadium. This event here tonight canceled, and that kind of stinks for all the NASCAR Sportsman competitors, because they were competing in a 100-lap race. They've had a difficult time with 100-lappers this year.
Yes, they have. You know, this is one. All the 100-lappers mean so much to that division. The Colors Edge 100 tonight. A lot of people looking forward to it. You know, qualifying. They got to do time trials. That's big for those guys. You know, Chase Robertson with the quick time tonight, and the real deal Riley Neal, who's been creeping up in those standings. You know, closing in, making that a 3-horse race in the Sportsman division. You know, hey, those guys have to wait another week, maybe 2. We don't know when that 100 will be rescheduled quite yet, but only 3 weeks remaining here at the Madhouse, with a lot of really crazy weeks coming up too, because next week is literally a doozy. I'm hating that I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, we're going to hate that you miss it too, because we love your call on Flow Racing. We're planning to be here. My sons and I will be here to cover it with Short Track Life.
And why though?
And why?
Yeah.
Because it's racing.
It's also the 100-lapper, baby,
for
the modifieds. And here's the coolest thing.
Ortega 100.
Ortega 100, and we were just talking about in the hallway, the fans challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, $3,000. Danny Bowman won with the Taking the Fans challenge, where you have to drop to the rear and try to make it up to the top 4 at the beginning of the year. Nobody's won it since. So we are up to $12,000 that a modified driver can take home here next week. And I'm dying that I'm not going to be here for it.
And I do want to get back to the Sportsman guys, because you basically have a 3-horse race at the top. You mentioned 2 of the title contenders, Chase Robertson and Riley Neal. You also have Zach Orr in there. But a story around the guy that sits 4th in points, Michael Adams, who has won 4 times. And it's probably a good thing that it rained out for him.
Yeah, it probably is, because, you know, he had trouble this morning in practice, and they had to find another car to race. So one of the
a whole car.
So, and they don't have a backup car. So luckily, one of the team members, they have a car, a late model stock.
Cale Gale's dad.
They have a late model stock, basically, that they kind of had ready to go. And they were working on it, thrashing on it right before some of these rains came and before that practice session, to have a car just for him to race in. And yeah, he may be kind of possibly on the fringe and out of the points battle, but he still has a lot to race for, Michael Adams. 4 wins on the season, tied with Chase Robertson for the Top Gun Award here, which is a big thing with bragging rights. And you want to be the guy that comes out of here, if you don't get the title, winning the most races.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I think if you want to just follow along with that, you know, a couple other people, or at least one that we know of, that maybe thinks this rain is fortunate, is Randy Butner. Randy Butner was going to a backup car in the NASCAR Modifieds because he broke a camshaft in practice here today. So there are some people that think it is fortunate that Mother Nature graced us and it's still raining behind us, and it's supposed to get even heavier as we go. So Greg Garrison and everybody made the right call, not only for the safety of the fans, but for these teams to get packed up and go home and maybe do something else. And the Carolinas seems to be very, very wet here today. But, you know, we talked about the Sportsman title race. Now, I want to get to the street stocks.
Yes.
Okay, because we don't get the chance, and maybe it's because we're dumb. Okay, and we haven't talked about the street stocks too much this year on Short Track Life. But the street stock race, when people either come out to the racetrack next week or they watch live on Flow Racing, you're going to want to really pay attention to that, because you talk about a 3-horse race. I mean, that's incredible in the street stocks what they got.
It's the ultimate 3-horse race right now in the street stocks. Christian Joyce's point lead has like completely evaporated. The poor guy cannot draw a very good starting position, and he's had to fight from the back to the front every week, and that's allowed the other two guys. Austin Jones has crept up in there, and Brad Lewis has crept up in there. So now a 3-way tie for the points lead coming into what's going to be 3 weeks to go. So and a double points show to close the season.
Yes.
That's madness. We talk about Madhouse being madness, but you've got the great veteran in Brad Lewis, who's been racing here for so many years, having a career year, a year he's never had here before. And then Christian Joyce, the hot rod barn car, one of the favorites out here and a clear-cut favorite to win the championship this year. But then you look at what Austin Jones has done, the grandson of the great Pee Wee Jones, finally breaking through to get his first win. He's a RCR employee. He's been waiting so long. He's been so patient behind the wheel. He doesn't ruffle any feathers here. He does it the right way. And then to see him, get not only one win, but two, and now get into the 3-way points battle here is really, really neat to see for a generational talent at Bowman Gray.
And you talk about a person that did not want
Oh, yes.
this rain out. You talked about Christian Joyce in that 3-way tie for the point lead. He was scheduled to start 6th. And by the way, the point leader of the
other
two
point
other point leaders, Brad Lewis, was back in 12th. And where is Austin
Right
Jones?
there, Austin Jones, 14th. So finally he had a good draw. Last week he
did.
drew like 17th and had battled his way up to 5th position. It was the race within the race. It was awesome to see. But, one thing too, I know you're asking me the questions, but I really enjoyed today because we haven't had an opportunity to be in the booth together for a whole night, which I was looking forward to so much, and it's almost want to cry that we're not going to be able to do it, to be honest with you. But I just enjoyed walking around with you because we've been around modified pits for so long and whatnot. Modifieds are our bread and butter, our passion. But I loved to, you've been coming to Bowman Gray a lot this year. And I loved walking around the pits with you, a little bit in the stadium stocks, the street stocks, the Sportsman guys, because we like to treat them pretty darn equally on flow, because those guys are just, let's just say it, badass racers. And they put on such a show here, the support divisions, as they call them. And a lot of times those guys feel like they don't get the love. And that's one thing that we've been able to develop here with relationships and how we announce them and whatnot. And it was fun walking around with you. You got to meet some of the most colorful characters at Bowman Gray. What one stood out to you today?
Zach Staley.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, that dude is just, charismatic. Let's just say that, because he's not, you could say he's crazy, right? But he's really not. He's got a lot of smarts. I'm telling you, he's a thinker.
Don't judge your book by its cover.
No, he looks like this rough guy, and you don't want to mess with him. But man, he's a smart guy, and I really love what he thinks about racing and how he knows he needs to be a showman and so forth, and what he does in regards to autism awareness and all that. So got a chance to meet a lot of these people. Sterling Clemens, by the way, gotta say happy birthday to him tomorrow, since we're not going to be able to do it here tonight. So there's so many stories that I put in my notes, and we were excited to be able to talk about some of them tonight. But unfortunately, Mother Nature, she's not all too kind to us sometimes. But I do want to talk about the modifieds.
Yeah.
Because
I love that we're talking about the modifieds almost last.
Yes,
This is great.
Yes. And the modified is really interesting, because what I was looking forward to almost the most here tonight, we have a good field of modifieds that we're going to have here tonight, but Slate Myers was going to be able to run his first full race, go for it. He's done some races where he has started and just, gained some experience making some laps. But Dad and that team said, go for it, kid. And I think it was going to be fun to watch that fourth generation of Myers family run here. And he'll get a chance to do it. I asked Slate, right before the rains came, I said, if it rains out, when are you going to be allowed to? Next week's 100 lapper. I don't know 50s. If that's going to happen.
Twin 50s.
Twin 50s probably. So he said, Dad, we'll let him run before the end of the year. Speaking of Dad, not out of the points, but man, the last 2-3 weeks has been miserable for Burt Myers.
It's been horrible for him. I mean, let's just not,
sugarcoat
and put sprinkles on it.
Even
the last
though
2
we
weeks.
do have little donuts.
Oh yeah,
here.
we do have little donuts.
Yeah.
So how'd you like them?
I
But anyway,
I ate way too many.
Oh my gosh,
That's
did.
why I'm like Kenny Wallace right now, all hyped up.
But yeah, Burt Myers has just had a nightmare 2 weeks. He has to put that behind him. And if there's anybody that knows how to put it behind him and trudge forward, it is a veteran driver like that. But I was just enjoying being there, in the pits, because it's a different vibe right now. You've got the rivalry going on between the Brown camp and the Myers camp. And I'm sorry, let's just call it like it is. It's tense down there. Our jobs is to be neutral and talk to everybody. Okay, so we do that, and we talk to both sides, but you can feel it just when you're talking to these people down there, how real this rivalry and how intense it is right now. And it kind of reminds me of back here when it used to be, Junior Miller with Gary Myers and Burt Myers.
Yeah.
That rivalry was so intense that it almost like superseded the races themselves at times. And I'm feeling that right now with that Brown Myers camp. And the guy that's just sitting there enjoying it all is the guy that just took advantage of all that and got himself in the points lead, and that's Chris Fleming.
But I felt it a couple weeks ago when Chris Fleming went to victory lane, and I could feel him then as the point leader start to go, oh my gosh, I got to start worrying about points. And Chris Fleming, he'll tell you he does not want to think about it. And he's not like a Burt Myers who's, I don't want to think about it, but technically Burt does think about it, even though he's out here to win races. Chris now, when we went up, he was by that fan, and I even asked him, what's the matter, man? He goes, nothing, just trying to think this out. And you can see that it was in his head, talking to his team. And now, after this, with 3 weeks to go, you talk about intensity.
Yes.
It's going to get ratcheted up a little bit here, because you could already feel it today. So Fleming leads, Brown second. Brandon Ward, by the way, has snuck up into third, and Burt Myers in fourth now. And Brandon Ward hasn't won a race here in a year, just a little over a year, actually, by a week actually now. But I do want to get back one more thing to that rivalry with the Myers camp, and let's just call it the Brown camp.
Yeah.
Okay, because Danny Probst is kind of in that Brown camp, and he had an orange bumper on his car that was very similar to Burt Myers' bumper. What's that about?
I just love the gamesmanship here. You've had so much gamesmanship here in so many different divisions. When something happens, a moment happens, a rivalry happens, and Burt Myers put the famed orange bumper to the backside of Danny Probst last week, and the Flying Taco went spinning around, as I said, in the cilantro and in the infield grass here in the football field. But little colorful character that Danny Probst is, that he goes out there this week and says, you know what, I'm going to put the orange bumper on. And I'm like, why'd you put the orange bumper on? He says, well, he's like, if Burt hits me, I could say now I have, if I hit Burt, I've got the orange on both sides now. Because you put the orange on my bumper last week, and now I've got it on the front. So he's got it on both sides.
And myself and Luke can vouch for Danny. He does have a little bit of orange on his back bumper. But to Burt's defense, and this just kind of goes within the character of everybody here, Burt was mad because he was very hard to pass. And Burt was fast, and he was trying to take,
He's having fun with it. That's the cool thing, okay? The fact that they're having a little bit of fun with it. I know some people on both sides of the camp right now don't want to have fun with this rivalry. They are heated. They're not happy. They don't want to joke around about it, and I understand that. But, there is a certain point where you realize this is auto racing, and we're not curing the world's problems, and we're racing around a football field in one of the greatest places on God's green earth, and that gravity sets in there that sometimes, after the fact, when the dust settles, we can kind of laugh about some of it maybe.
And lastly, we want to say good luck to Mike Smith's daughter, Bristol. She plays softball, and next week her team is advanced to the World Series. They're going up against a team from Asia next weekend. We were going to talk about that a little bit here tonight, but that's pretty cool. So like I said, we could talk forever. Yeah,
I do want to say something. If you're going to add in one thing, it's the brothers Dillner tonight. We didn't get to do the booth.
I know.
And we're just dying to talk, obviously, as this is nears its 38th minute. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say one of my great friends, Freddie Kraft, that whole entire family. These two guys here, we have heavy hearts today because TK Tommy Kraft was a stalwart, mainstay in Long Island racing, from Islip Speedway to Riverhead Raceway, great figure eight racer, always somebody that took care of figure eight racing, even to this day, as an official, as a safer organization leader. But TK passed away, the last winner ever at Islip Speedway, a place that meant so much to our lives. And but just to that whole family, because they're a great racing family, I'd be remiss if I didn't say we love you guys, and we're praying for all of you. So
Absolutely. That whole family up there, they fought together, they raced together, they partied together, and a lot more, honestly. So definitely we're going to be thinking of that family. And on that note, I don't think there's anything else that we could say. Unfortunately, rain out here at Bowman Gray Stadium.
at least we got donuts and sun drop, buddy.
Absolutely.